Legacy of Wisdom is a non-profit project, building a vision of best practices for living and fulfilling life's potential.
We've each of us given you some story. And I feel sure that everyone in this room has a sense of themselves on a developmental path, on a journey. Practice helps, study helps, reflection helps. Something that unfolds in the course of a lifetime. The particular part of my story that I want to tell you happened on the day when Jack Kennedy was assassinated. I was a brand new PhD teaching, would you believe, elementary Arabic at Harvard. And I'd just gotten a PhD in linguistics, actually. And I was going into the building where the class was, and a student came up to me and said, the president has been shot. I went into the classroom. Students were there. He told me the president was still alive, so I started the class, and the bells of Memorial Church began to ring. I dismissed the class and walked out. And then what do you do? So I went to a church near Harvard Square, sort of a lower 2 layers, very dark, Catholic church, St. Paul's, near Harvard Square. And the thing that I found myself thinking, praying, meditating about was what this assassination meant to people all around the planet. It wasn't about Democrats and Republicans. It wasn't about Americans and other nations. That something like this could have happened added a layer of insecurity to everyone's lives, an erosion of health, of hope and security and confidence. So what I imagined was a very poor villager in India, where I've never been, working with crude tools, feeding a family with difficulty. And maybe there was a transistor radio in the village so that he would hear of this death on the other side of the planet of a political leader and wonder how that would echo in his life, in his possibility of hoping for the future. Could he continue to trust and hope and love and care for his family when such things were happening in the world? So for me, the question of wisdom is tied to the question of action. And it's tied to the shape of human lives. The first thing that I did after that was I realized that I was going to have to make a shift from all the fascinating intellectual puzzles of linguistics into thinking about human lives, how we develop, how we find meaning in our lives. And so I went and volunteered to teach as a TA for Eric Erickson. I've been thinking about lives and how they are lived ever since. one of the things that I learned from Eric is, first of all, to realize that in our species, it isn't just that we depend on learning as our mode of survival. We have to learn to trust. It isn't automatic. We have to learn to love. It isn't automatic. We have to learn to be hopeful in hard times and to persevere. But these things are not automatic. They develop through time. That you can look at every age in the life cycle and see, ask yourself, what is the wisdom of this age? The wisdom of an infant is very much hope and trust, you know? Because you can't go get what you need for yourself. You're totally dependent on someone taking care of you. When you hurt, when something goes wrong, someone comes. You look at little kids, and you see them developing a sense of wonder. Surely wonder is an essential element of wisdom. Play is essential to wisdom. The kind of profound, serious play that is part of becoming an adult human being. Not the kind of thing that they say when they say just go play shuffleboard in a Sun City somewhere and get out of the way. But deep play. Play that leads to discovery. So about 10 years ago, having written a good deal about the changes in women's lives that took place during the women's movement, and seeing that in the context of a whole series of liberation movements, where in order to embrace a liberation, people had to free themselves from stereotypes and prejudices. And that's why we called them liberation movements. People had to grow into confidence of who they were, had to claim their own value, their own kind of beauty, their own ability to give in order to respond to other people and build relationships. And I was at a conference somewhere, and someone used the phrase, wise activism. You know, there's an awful lot of dumb activism going on in the world. I mean, let's face it. Okay, but think it through. That's a good concept. But I like turning things upside down. You'll see this later. And I thought, wise activism? What would active wisdom be? Because there was a period when I used to ask audiences, I'd say, do you expect to be wise when you're old? Do you? Do you? Don't count on it. It's not automatic. It depends on reflection. Experience helps. Intelligence helps. But basically, wisdom comes from metabolizing what you learn from others and from experience, digesting it to a point in which it can be shared, and acted on. Except that we have a stereotype of wisdom that associates it with people with arthritis sitting in rocking chairs, because that has been the human story. Through most of human history, life expectancy at birth was less than 40 years. And there were a handful of elders who were immensely valuable because of the knowledge and wisdom they had accumulated over time. They were valuable for the survival of the community. And for the first time in history, as people live longer, there's the possibility of a wealth of people accumulating knowledge and experience. But I would say something else, that very extension of life that says that wisdom is the task ahead of us, unfolding from stage to stage to stage, means that we have to think all the way back to preschool, to the way we care for infants, and K through 12, especially middle school. Think about adolescence. Think about the tasks of moving towards wisdom at every stage of life. And then understand the extraordinary wealth of potential, engaged, active wisdom in our society today. Because it's not just that we're living longer, we're living healthier. So the whole shape of lives looks different with this possibility. The challenge is different at every stage. And of course, we are at a terrifying moment in human history. We need all of the wisdom and engagement we can muster to believe that we are going to be able to find the hope and the love and the willingness to share that we will need to get through the crises that lie ahead. On the whole, when human beings face reduced resources, they're not nice. They think about getting some from their neighbors and violence, unless they have the wisdom to share, to live more simply, to conserve, to actually walk through the details that we all have to walk through on a day-to-day basis to sustain life on this planet and move towards life that is peaceful and just.